going, and we've got 30 minutes today, 30 minutes to successful virtual sponsorships. Thank you for being here. If you're on live, for those of you who are watching the recording later, thank you for your time as well. Um, I, um, I'm Katie LaClare, and I'm the leader of the LaClare Group. Many of you probably know me from that role. We are a meeting planning organization working with companies and organizations on in-person and virtual meetings, conferences, trade shows. And I'm also a business owner. So in light of today's topic on successful sponsorships, I have the perspective of several sides of the table: the sales side, the finance side, the delivery of services. So that's why I wanted to do this thing today, this webinar. We think it's really important that for your success to understand how the climate has changed, to understand how sponsorships and exhibits have changed now with virtual events. So that's why we're doing this. We are 1 year into the pandemic, and some people have embraced the changes in virtual meetings. Some are holding out until in-person meetings return. I'm not sure which side you're on, but there are definitely, I will say, we're never going to fully go back to only in-person meetings. Of course, we can't replace the value of meeting with people in person. So don't get me wrong. But what we have seen, what we've been forced to experience over this last year is that you can do successful virtual meetings. You're still able to reach people. You're still able to get your message out and create contacts, create sales. So that's where we're at. Today, we are going to discuss and cover how to measure success with virtual meetings, how to create intentional experiences, how to be creative to be successful, and tips for hosting if you are the host organization. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to jump right in. And the first thing I will say is what I'm hoping that you get out of this today, because I know you all are here because you already have some experience and some knowledge of the sponsorship and exhibitor world. But what I'm hoping is that you'll take away some nuggets. You'll feel a little bit more confident, maybe get some new ideas and ways to approach this to be successful in this coming year and beyond. So what's the same? What's the same as in-person meetings? Well, of course, it's still a marketing and sales initiative. Did you know that 90% of consumers feel positive about brands that participate at events? And in fact, 85% of those will likely buy from you. So that hasn't changed. Some of the return on investment, the ROI measurements, will be the same. Some will be different, as we'll cover in a little bit. And how customers find brands mostly is the same. Even before the pandemic, people were doing a lot more searching online, researching, Googling a company, a brand, an organization before they decided to do business with them and before they reached out. So that part hasn't changed. But what's new and different? That's the good part here. Virtual and hybrid meetings and events have a different approach. And let me pause for just a second. And for those of you who may not be familiar, virtual, of course, is an online event. Hybrid is when you have a combination of both the in-person and the online, and we will see that moving forward, a lot more of that combination or that hybrid event. So the first thing on what's new or different is the reach and the larger audience, because distance, travel, overnight hotel accommodations are not an issue. So, and oftentimes the cost of attending these events and shows are going to be slightly lower. So it becomes a lot easier for people all around the country, in other countries, to attend meetings and conferences that they may not have attended before. So that's awesome. That's a win for all of us. There's also more impressions, and by that I mean video or virtual impressions, that your name, your image, your brand is going to show up more often when we're on virtual, because that people are seeing it in the slides, they're getting mentions, the pre-show, during the show, after the show, all of those opportunities to be in front of your target audience. It's also lower cost, and or your dollars can go further. So what I mean by that is the cost of being an exhibitor goes down. You don't have to travel. You don't have all those extra meals, all that time away from your office, your home, whatever. Or you can take those same dollars that you would have spent in that way in the past, and you can put it towards more of the actual sponsorship or exhibit booth, and you're going to get more for your money. There's also, for the most part, less prep time, and we are seeing that some companies are still a little bit hesitant to go into this virtual space. So if you can fully embrace being a virtual sponsor or exhibitor, you're going to see that there's less of your competitors in that space. And we're going to cover this one in a little bit as well in more depth, but customers are going to remember creativity and fun. And yes, you can say, wait a minute, this is a business meeting, or something a little bit more serious, but you can make it fun, you can make it memorable, you can make it unique. And we're going to cover some of those things here in just a bit. So this one just cracks me up. I had to throw this in here. If you've ever been at a trade show, walking the aisles, just like Ron in this image, you're trying to avoid eye contact. You're just wanting to kind of assess who's there, who's exhibiting, and decide whether or not you actually want to approach anybody in the trade show booth. If you are working the trade show booth, you might feel like you're more like the woman running around the table trying to get the attention of the people that are walking by. I say all of this to say that that part hasn't changed. When it comes to virtual, people have a little bit of extra anonymity if they're the attendees at a virtual show. So they're going to assess who's exhibiting, who sponsors are. They may not physically reach out. So that's why my top thing here is to stop using how many people stop by our booth as a measurement. That it's not a good metric. Yeah, for all of those reasons. But what you can do instead is evolve your thinking and your approach to the current situations. So depending on the virtual platform that's being used, there's a lot more digital metrics that are available to you. You can see how many impressions. You might be able to see how many people clicked on. Maybe you have a video that you embed in yours in your booth. There's things that people can download. So those are other metrics that you can use to see how people are interacting with you other than stopping by your booth. The other thing is setting realistic goals. Really step back, take a high-level view of what you're trying to accomplish by being a sponsor or exhibitor. Maybe it's brand awareness. Maybe you're wanting to generate more leads. It could be shaping customer attitudes. All of those are viable and a lot more. But really get realistic about what you're wanting to accomplish, and then use those goals to drive how you choose to measure your success. Of course, there's tangible and intangible ROI. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, the digital metrics that are available will help you with all of that. On the tangible side, there are things like, as I mentioned, number of leads. Maybe you have some kind of a digital sales or digital marketplace, and you're maybe actually able to make some sales during the show. That will obviously be tangible measurements. Intangible ones are going to be things like brand recognition, again, like I said up above, visibility to your target audience. A big one is building that know, like, and trust factor with your target audience. So think about all of that. Another thing to consider in the whole how to measure success is that digital is a little bit more like advertising, but instead of doing a Google ad or a LinkedIn ad where you may or may not be able to control who sees it or who you get in front of, doing virtual events, shows, conferences, you are targeting your audience, your target audience. So you're getting in front of people that you know are already well-qualified potential leads. So that's huge. One little statistic here for you at the bottom, 87% of marketers consider the opportunities generated by virtual events as a success factor. So those are all things to think about as you're going in. All right, the next one, being intentional. Being intentional to create your successful sponsorship or exhibitor experience. So the first one here is make a positive impression on the virtual platform. Now, of course, if you are if you're the sponsor or exhibitor, you may not be able to choose the platform that's being used. On the other hand, if you are the host organization, being very thoughtful and intentional about which platform you choose is going to make a huge difference for everyone, not only your attendees, but for your sponsors and exhibitors. And there's so much out there now. I mean, Teams and Zoom are fine, but there's so many companies. We're working with one called Excel Events. Bizaboo has one. I hesitate to name too many because I'll probably forget one, but there are so many platforms now that give you so much more robust options, choices to make it a really good experience. If possible, and if it's an option for that platform, provide information such as a downloadable PDF or a short video that people who stop by your booth can watch. That's going to make a big difference. Okay, so the next one is negotiate your package. Now, a lot of times when host organizations send out information to potential sponsors and exhibitors, they will create a package of set categories. If it works for you, awesome. But if there's things that you've determined are important to you and you don't see them on that package, the pre-assembled packages, talk to them. Try to negotiate on what the things are that are important for you. Maybe it is doing an email blast to attendees before the show starts. Maybe it's there's so many different options, but think about what it is that you're trying to achieve, what it is that's important to you, and talk to them about it. The host organizations need the sponsors need the opportunities to get in front, so make it a win-win for both of you. The next one is promoting the event and your participation at that event through all of your channels. Again, this helps build up some excitement, build up some momentum for your customer base that you may already have and that maybe are going to be at this show. But it's another way to bring more people in. The host organization is going to appreciate it if your efforts bring in more attendees to the show. And it also is in your best interest. Again, that goes back to creating a really good relationship between you as the sponsor or exhibitor and the host organization. Then the next one is being memorable. I've said it already once, and we're going to, on another slide here, jump into this a little bit more. But people are hungry for personal interaction, for creativity. So use that. Get creative in how you do things to really stand out to the people who are stopping by your exhibit booth or for your sponsorship. And then the last one, which maybe you've thought about and maybe not, is attend the event. Don't just sit in the booth and wait for people to stop by. Go into those sessions that are happening. Make comments in the chats. Be an active participant. Your name will be out there, and it's one more way to be creating relationships with people who are your ideal customers, right? Through very genuine and natural channels. So I highly, highly encourage you, participate in those sessions and the breakouts, be an active participant in the event that you're going to. All right, being creative to be successful. The first one I'm going to say is swag bags are still a thing. And they're getting more creative, and people are looking forward to them. We attended a show just as participants last summer, and we got a really fun branded box that came to our homes, each of us. And there were gift cards for, like a $15 gift card for a lunch. There were mugs. There were all kinds of fun little swag items. It built the anticipation for the show. It was fun to get those little things, and it helped bridge that connection between the virtual of sitting in your office and the in-person. And you knew everybody else was getting the same thing. Sponsoring a 15-minute break or other things like a waiting room, a meal, a happy hour. Now, this is going to be dependent, of course, on how you do this, on what type of a show or event this is. If this is something that has a continuing education and CE credits, you're going to have to be careful with too much promotion for certain things. But in those situations, doing a break or doing a breakfast are ways to get your name out to all the audience outside of the actual educational sessions. We have done things, just to give you some examples. There's a retreat that we did for a client in February, and we used an actress and meditation yoga person who was able to do some really fun and meaningful exercises with the group that, even though we were all online, it brought everyone together. It helped relax, center, and focus people. And everyone commented afterwards how much they got out of it. So don't think that because it's online, you can or can't do certain things. Pretty much anything's an option. I've got this picture of the Broadway show, the red photo here from Wicked. We are going to be doing another webinar coming up at the end of April. And the person that we're going to have is a co-founder of Virtual Broadway. So that's another fun one. Hire somebody like a Virtual Broadway production to have actors, singers. It's a fun way to have a break. It changes it up. Dance parties in the middle. You get the idea. And if you have questions or comments on this one, I'm happy to give you more information. So games and other ways of being interactive are also huge right now. People want personalization, they want interaction. So as much as you can do to draw people in, to give people a whole experience, more than just sitting and looking at a screen, the better off you're going to be and the more successful. And that's why I've got that picture of the bartender there, because you may have seen there are people doing like fun happy hours, mixology, things like that. The bottom line is your audience wants personal attention. So put on your creative thinking cap and start thinking about ways that you can provide that for them. Because the bottom line is whatever you can do to be unique, creative, fun, they're going to remember you and your company. So now, tips for the host organization. We've touched on a few things as I've gone through this, but I really can't stress enough creating a win-win situation. So recognizing the needs, the goals, and the objectives of your sponsors or exhibitors has evolved. What they want, what they need, as we talked about earlier, is changing. So you've got to keep up with that. Doing things the way you did a year or two ago just isn't going to work anymore. We've got to get ahead of it, think proactively, and provide for your sponsors and exhibitors so that they want to work with you. And of course, along that same line is being in it for the long-term relationship. It's much easier to go back to satisfied sponsors or exhibitors for the next show or the next event that you do. They're going to be more likely to want to work with you again. So that's a win-win for everyone. And then on the other side is communicating early and often, sharing statistics, your attendee demographics, how many of their competitors might be attending, and also how has the audience changed or evolved or grown over the past year? What are you seeing now as far as people attending? Again, this goes back to the thing I mentioned earlier, that audiences and the reach that you have through your show or event is growing, and you may be getting people that are attending from, if you're a state organization, maybe other states are coming now. If you're a national organization, maybe more people from specific companies or even people from outside of your country are able to attend. So share that information. That's going to help your sponsors and exhibitors be more successful. And then the last one is training to utilize virtual platform features. Okay, what does that mean? So with these new virtual platforms that are being used, you want your exhibitors and sponsors to be comfortable, to take full advantage of it. So providing some kind of a training for them, kind of walking them through the platform. There's this, these features that were going to help them. That is going to help your exhibitors and sponsors feel more confident, feel more comfortable, and utilize all of those tools. So again, everyone wins when you're doing that. All right, we've got time for some Q&A before we wrap up today. I'm trying to respect everyone's time here. I know we only have 30 minutes and I'm going to come in at or under 30 minutes. So if you've got questions and you're live, feel free to add them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that. If you are watching this recording afterwards and you've got questions, comments, you just want to pick my brain, reach out to me. I put my email in there before, but it's Katie@LaClareGroup.com. Katie is CAYTIE at LaClareGroup.com. So I'll watch here for just a minute or two. We'll see if we've got any questions coming up. Okay, and I'll take this moment too. We've got another slide, but I mentioned we have another webinar that we're going to be doing at the end of April 27th. You'll get an email on that, but we're going to dive into attendee engagement, how to really get people engaged in their in attending virtual shows. All right, I'm not seeing questions, so We have questions. I don't see the questions. Can you feed them?
So someone asked about platforms, and are these just for sponsors or part of an overall event package?
Okay, so when I use the word platform, what I'm referring to is the software or the online, the delivery tool. So Zoom is a platform. Teams is a platform. Excel Events, which is, I mentioned, we are working with them on one of our clients' upcoming 2-day conferences. That's another platform. And each of those online platforms has certain tools, certain capabilities. So Zoom, you can send people into breakouts, but you may not, there's not a lot as far as having exhibitor booths per se. But Axel and Bizaboo and some of these other companies that have more robust online delivery platforms for conferences and shows, On24 is another one. They give you more options for ways for the sponsors or exhibitors to appear. We can do things like banners across the bottom, but that's what I mean when I say the online platform. And if you're a sponsor or exhibitor, you probably don't, you're not going to have much sway unless you can talk to that show sponsor or the host organization before they even, like way at the beginning, before they even select what platform they're using. Otherwise, by the time you hear about a show, that platform may have already been chosen. Still talk to the host organization and find out what are all the capabilities, what they're willing to let you do. And, again, having a banner with if you're a high level sponsor, having a banner with your name across the bottom is a great way to do that. Any other questions? What are some of the best swag items you've seen? Oh my goodness, there are. I really loved the gift cards. We got those. They were $15 from a place that does. It's like it was Crisp and Green. So I don't know if they have Crisp and Greens where you are, but it's a restaurant that has healthy foods, salads, things like that for takeout. So we got $15 gift cards. That was a very cool and useful gift card. Let's see, what else? Think about the things that people, now that you're home, are wanting or needing. So another fun one that I personally like is the little, it's like a sticky thing that you put, I don't even know the official name of it, but you put it on your computer and you can slide it to cover your camera and slide it back open so that your camera on your computer is accessible. So it gives you a little bit of privacy if you're working or doing things. So those are some fun swag ones that we've seen, but really get creative. Reach out to me afterwards and I can give you some more ideas as well. Any more questions? No? Okay. So I just want to acknowledge the whole LaClare Group team that's behind everything that you've seen here today, and also all the other conferences, meetings, events that we do for our customers and clients, because without their excellent help, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. And if you like today's webinar, I invite you to continue the conversation on how virtual meetings can benefit your company. Reach out to me. I've got my email and phone number at the bottom of this slide. Give me a call or email me, whatever, or head over to our website, but I'm happy to continue the conversation. If you haven't gotten this from me yet today, I want to make sure that you walk away knowing that this webinar wasn't about selling anything to you. It's about giving you information and helping you be more successful, because that's my biggest thing, helping other companies be successful. When you win, we all win. And then the final one, again, I mentioned this earlier, but our next webinar will be coming up on Tuesday, April 27th. The secret to increase attendee engagement during virtual meetings. Margaret Skoglund is co-founder of Virtual Broadway. She will be our guest on that webinar, but we'll be covering lots of different ways to get good attendee engagement. So as we wrap up, thank you for taking the time to be here today. Thank you for watching this. If you're watching this recording later, again, reach out. We are here. We are real people behind the screen, and doing what we can to help you be successful is what matters to us. So thanks again for being here, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.